Well, you've mentioned how this time around you were quite deliberate with the lyrics, and there's a reference to a poem by Robert Frost in the lyrics. So what made him
What line?
road less traveled?
Oh, is that a Robert Frost line?
Yeah, I believe so.
I didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Then no, I thought it was quite deliberate. But
No, it wasn't. No. Although you know what, maybe subconsciously, I knew it as a poetic line because it grace upon the road less travelled. Would have been a line that just would have come, and I would have thought that feels right. I'm going to keep that line, but I never thought about it as a direct reference to Robert Frost. Sorry, Robert.
Okay, well, because from that song I wrote two lines down, and it's also "Grace beneath the judge's gavel," and so I wondered where that came from.
Well, it comes from the idea of having some quiet when you're being judged by yourself, being judged by others, being judged by the press, or it's this idea of I'll try to hold my own. It's about trying to own your own self, about trying to stop trying to be liked. So the term grace is not about being. It's not about showing being pious. It's more like this is your game. I don't want any part of it. I'm not doing this. I'm not running around for you anymore. I'm not playing the monkey. I'm not going to try to win your affection anymore. I'm going to be who I am, and I'm now you've shown some, and it's more like now that I've been given from some higher place,
right,
a sense of quiet in all of these situations.
But I suppose as a public figure in a way, this can be quite difficult.
Yeah, that's exactly why it needs to be written, because it is quite difficult, and I think most people who get interested in playing music, for a lot of people maybe it's just an intellectual act and it's stimulating and it's interesting, but I think for singers it might be somewhat, maybe more common, that for singers there's something lacking in their lives to begin with, that they need applause as part of their part of the makeup of their sense of self.
Right.
And it can be very nourishing, but it's also very dangerous because you learn to want it more and more, and sometimes to the detriment of your own personal relationships. It's an interesting idea that you leave home to travel and do your music. I guess the question needs to be asked: why do you make music? Do you make music so that you'll be liked, or do you make music because music is something that actually truly is your expression? And maybe at some point in the last few years, I guess I've been asking that question in the background.
What has your answer been?
Both. It has to be, the honest answer has to be both, because one would like, my answer would like, I'd like to say I do it for the love of the of music and of the craft of music, and of course I do. But it is a tricky line. It's who do you trust to approve of you? Who do you trust to say you are okay, you are good, you are who gets to fill that hole for me? And it has to be me. Because if it's not me, then then I become a feather in the wind, and whatever way the wind is blowing, I get caught up in it, and it's not personal. You become a victim of just nature, because nature destroys, and then nature blooms again, and it destroys and blooms again, and so these things ebb and flow, and it's important to look at your career and look at your life and go, there'll be times of decay and there'll be times of bloom, and and there is something slightly odd and a little bit suspect about a man leaving his family to travel the world singing his song to strangers. Something interesting about that, and at the same time it's his work, and I've been questioning that a lot. So Grace Beneath the Pines really goes to that question. It doesn't have an answer, but it goes to the question. Right. And that's all our song or any piece of art, I guess, can only really hope to aspire to be, which is just a question. I was at a festival in Austria. It was an acoustic festival, and I just didn't like the festival, and I went away from it, and I was to play last, and it was a kind of an awful situation, and everyone was drunk, and I was playing solo, so I was a little bit freaked out, and I went up and I went into a little forest behind the festival, and I just lay there and wrote these lines down. Okay. So Grace Beneath the Pines was just a kind of it was me lying under these trees and sort of, trying to find quiet in myself so that when I went out onto that stage, I knew who I was,
How did the gig go?
It went well. It went a lot better than I thought it would go. It didn't go great, as I didn't expect it to.
Fair enough. Finally, then we have to mention the frames. You're releasing, it's not a best-of album. It's a selection of songs that meant the most to you along the way. Yeah. One thing I've noticed is that there's no songs from the debut record. Yeah. So what does that tell you about
the debut record? Yeah, I mean, it was a flawed record. It didn't. I don't think any of us were particularly proud of it. I'm glad we made it, and I'm glad that those songs had a life. But it was a confusing time. That record was it was very young men making what they thought was, if I'd have gone ahead and made the record that Ireland had signed me to make, it would have been a folk record. Okay. But then I just at that particular juncture, I became influenced by other things. Okay. The Pixies, R.E.M., and suddenly I'd found all these new bands, and I guess I got very excited and started writing songs that I felt were kind of in that genre, and so the record ended up being very confused. But I'm glad I did it, and it was a great lesson.
And the record is called Longitude, and it's being released to celebrate 25 years of the Frames. Mm-hmm. What does it do to you that the band has existed for so long? And then, you mentioned you weren't particularly proud of the first record, but do you ever listen back to some of the work? I mean, I had to listen back to make this compilation. I listened back, and I'm very surprised and very pleased and very proud of the music the Frames has made. It's been a really good band. It's been good for me to have some distance, because only through distance can you ever see what you've done. And I really like the band. I think the band's really good. That first record is not a terrible record. It's just it's a flawed record. So it's different. But I'm very proud of what the Frames achieved. There was definitely moments of real magic, and there was moments that didn't work. Like every band, where it felt forced, or it felt like we were trying to push a square into a round hole. And then moments where it just was so free and flowed, and I'm very proud of it. And we're playing some concerts, and I'm very much looking forward to playing those songs again, because it's been a long time. I believe there's one new song on this record. Yeah. But are there plans to record and write with the Frames in the future?
No, there's no plans. That doesn't mean it won't happen. Okay. I think we need to sit down as a band in a room and make music with no agenda. And that I'm excited about. If we make music with no agenda, with no album on the horizon, with no tour booked, if we give ourselves the time, the issue that I've had most in the last few years is time. There's a lot of touring, and I made my second solo record, so I have to honor that. I have to go and follow where that leads me. But when a time arrives where we can sit in a room and we can just play, I'll be very excited about just doing that, because we make a good sound together. And if that warrants, if what the result of that, sitting, playing together, making music, maybe rent a house for a week and just go sit in a house and make food and play some music and talk. And music is really born out of an intimacy, you know. That's really where the best music comes from, and the best frames music came from periods of time where we spent living together.
Right.
And I think if we were to try do that now, it would be fruitful no matter what. But whether the fruit was worthy of going and recording, we'd have to wait and see. I don't know.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice questions.
Thanks.